James, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you as always.
So Israel seeks to demonize Qatar as all parties hint at progress in the Gaza ceasefire talks.
Indeed. So you have a concerted effort to try and get particularly Israel back to the negotiating table when it comes to a temporary ceasefire and a prisoner exchange. U.S. President Joe Biden's top Middle East advisor, Brett McGurk, is in Israel at the moment. And already that has produced at least a nominal result in the sense that Israel has agreed to return to the negotiating table and to give its negotiators some leeway in terms of negotiating. But that doesn't necessarily mean that what Israel wants is going to square with what Hamas is willing to accept. In the meantime, what Israel is doing is trying to undermine the leverage of the negotiators, particularly that of Egypt, and of Qatar, and it's doing so by demonizing Qatar. Israel, in a sense, together with the Texas Republicans, scored a very tangible success this month with the withdrawal from Qatar of Texas A&M University. But you've also seen attacks on Qatar and demonization on Qatar on pro-Israeli websites like MEMRI, the Middle East Media Information and Research Project, and, of course, in statements by Netanyahu and other Israeli leaders.
Now, Qatar is also seeking to mediate between the PLO and Hamas in terms of an agreement on post-war administration of Gaza.
Indeed, and that may very well be another reason why Israel is trying to, and its allies in the United States is trying to demonize Qatar. Qatar is seeking to find a formula under which the PLO, President Mahmoud Abbas's Palestine Authority, and Hamas would reconcile their long-standing differences. You had Abbas visiting Qatar last week, where he met with the Qatari emir, but interestingly enough, not with Hamas itself. And at the same time, equally interesting, Mohammed Dahlan, a former Palestine Authority security chief in Gaza, who is an advisor to the United Arab Emirates President Mohammed bin Zayed and the UAE's point man on Palestinian issues or inter-Palestinian issues. He was at the same time in Doha and did meet with Hamas. What the formula that's on the table is that Hamas would join the Palestine Liberation Organization, and in doing so would implicitly accept a two-state solution, that is to say, a independent Palestinian state alongside Israel, but would not be part of a technocratic government that would take over in Gaza once the war falls silent. And of course, what the Qataris are trying to achieve is diametrically opposed to a plan for the day after in Gaza that was just leaked by Netanyahu, and that would leave no room for any Palestinian national or any Palestinian representation in Gaza and governance of Gaza that would be in line with Palestinian national aspirations.
Now, the majority of Israelis doubt that Israel can destroy Hamas.
Indeed. So you had a just released poll in Israel in which 51% of Israelis do not believe that that Israel can destroy Hamas. That number goes up to 75% among Israeli Palestinians. And those figures are significant at a moment at which there is significant popular resistance or popular opposition to Netanyahu's policies in Gaza. not because Israelis necessarily object to the war, they don't, nor because they object to the notion of destroying Hamas, but because they don't. One, many Israelis, and certainly the families of those captives that are still being held in Gaza by Hamas, but a broader swath of Israeli public opinion wants to see the release of the hostages in Gaza prioritized rather than the defeat or the continuation of the war. And so this adds to the domestic pressures on Netanyahu, which are already increasing.
And then finally, the International Court of Justice is likely to create a legally binding parameter for a resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian situation. Indeed, and what the concern is on the Israeli side, and for that matter of the U.S. side, was evident this week when the U.S. legal representative made the United States presentation to the International Court of Justice hearings on the legality of Israel's occupation. What he said was essentially that would frame the negotiations between for a resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and therefore it would be detrimental. But that's exactly the point. If indeed the International Court, the world's highest judicial body, would declare the occupation of Palestinian lands by Israel illegal, then that would be the framework under which Israelis and Palestinians would have to negotiate, and indeed would also be the legal framework for the creation of an independent Palestinian state, something that Netanyahu has vowed that he will prevent as long as he is in office. All right, James, as always, we thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me. We can look at James's website, www.jamesmdorsey.net.